Hello friends. So let us now move on to some other subtopic called as conditional compilation in macros. So the preprocessor, it supports if-else directives which are typically used for conditional compilation. So the directives are as follows. There is hash if, hash if else, hash else, hash else if, which is written as hash elif, and then hash end if to denote the end of the nested if or the if construct. And the body of how to use these constructs are as shown below, in the bottom part of the board. So I will have my if condition. If it is true, all the below lines would get executed until I encounter an end if statement, hash end if. That is how the hash if statement gets executed. And notice that there is no need of flower braces anywhere. Whatever is under hash if, it will keep on getting executed until a hash end if was encountered. Similarly, for using hash else, there is a second example. Anyway, I will have a hash if construct as usual. If that is not true, hash else construct would get executed. And then as usual, hash end if to denote the end of the if else construct. Next, nested ifs. This is nothing but if else ladder. This is actually not nested if else ladder. So if the given construct is true, then the first two, the statements under that would be executed. Else, if the second if is true, then that would be executed. That is under whatever is there under hash elif, that would get executed. Otherwise, the hash else, whatever is there under that would get executed until end if is encountered. Note that in all the three cases, there is no requirement for using flower brackets anywhere, as we are using end if. End if would denote the end of if construct. I know the concept is not completely clear to you. That's why I have demonstrated it using a program. Anyway, and that program, I would read it once. As the first program, as usual, I would begin by saying hash include stdio.h, and then I would say hash define num 10, that is wherever num is there, replace it with 10, and then int main, that also we have discussed, in which I would have a if construct by saying hash if, and then the condition is if num mod 2 is equal to 0, then we have to print even. That is what I am doing. Hash if num mod 2 equal to 0, printf even. And then I am closing the if construct by saying hash end if. So the output we would get is even, because we know 10 mod 2 we will get as 0. We know that. Mod means it would give us the remainder. So 10 mod 2 remainder is 0. So we would get if statement would get executed and even would be the output. In this case, in the second program, notice that in the first program, num is a constant variable. In other words, you can't change num. You can't change the value of num to say 11 or any other value. Num means it's always 10 throughout the program. You can't change it. However, in the second program, I'll just read it out once. It begins by saying hash include stdio.h and then int main, in which I will create a variable num, and its value initially is 10. Again, I will use the conditional if construct by saying hash if num mod 2 is equal to 0, then I should print even, and I will use end if to indicate that end of if construct, and also I will close the main function. Even though these two programs appear to be very similar in nature, when I try to compile it, it will show an error. What is the error? The compilation error is variable is included in a constant expression. That is, wherever I expected a constant expression, you have given me a variable. That's what the compiler would tell. So in other words, we have learned how to use hash if and hash and if, but one limitation we have not understood. In the condition checking part, we are supposed to use only constant expressions. You only see in the first program, num mod 2 is equal to 0 in that part. Num is a constant value and everything is a constant. There are no variables as such. So the whole expression is a constant expression. Its value will not depend on any variable. Only such expressions you can use if you are using hash if construct. But so by that logic, in the second program, num is a variable. It is not a constant value. You can reassign num to some other value also. You can say num equal to 20. So num need not always be 10. In other words, num is a variable in the second program. If num is a variable, the expression num mod 2 is equal to 0. It is not a constant expression, obviously. So that is not allowed. So we have learned how the body of the if and end if statements should be. In the below part of the board. That is one thing we have learned. And second thing what we have learned is that the condition after the if part or after the else if part, those conditions should be constant expressions. And we have also learned that constant expressions are expressions which contain no variables. That is the definition of constant expressions. I hope this concept has been very clear to you. Thank you very much.